it seems like the WWE, and I don't know if they're getting it or if I don't know what's going on there, but it seems like, and I'll mention Caval even though he's been released, but it seemed like they were going with Daniel Bryan, Caval, some of these, CM Punk, some of these guys that we saw on the indie scene, or on, I say indie scene, ROH, and maybe not mainstream wrestling, and they're bringing them in. We're not, it's not the big meathead Dave Batista type of guys that are coming in now, and even now with Awesome Kong being signed by WWE, she breaks that diva stereotype, that diva mold too. Do you think we're going to see more of that? And is that really what fans want, do you think? Or are fans programmed to take what they want?
Well, and this will be a topic for future discussion. I think the fans will buy into whatever they're sold. I don't think the fans really, the casual fan, I mean, you and I will sit at home and be like, oh, I want to see the technical, I want to see this, I want to see a match that goes beyond 30 seconds. And I think the casual fan will just go for entertainment. And I mean, you and I grew up on Flair Steamboat. We grew up on, these 60-minute matches, 30-minute matches where the story was told in the ring. And I think if the guys, and Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Caval, even William Regal still know how to tell that story in the ring once they start wrestling. And I think if that is the focus, I think the fans will buy into it. I didn't see the match with Regal on Raw, but it seemed that the fans were into it from what I read.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you give them a character that they can relate to, they will buy into whatever's going on.
I agree with that. My concern is, is it a character that I can make a action figure out of, and T-shirts, and coin some stupid catchphrase that the fans will chant every 30 seconds when that person's in the ring. And I think that has also kind of brought it down a little bit in terms of the fan that likes to see that 30-minute match or that 60-minute match, because we're trying to cram so many characters into a 2-hour time period. Everybody's fighting for that spot, and they're getting 30 seconds in the ring, and then they're cutting a 5-minute promo in the ring or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my complaints in the past in the past few years have been the over-reliance of talking. But going back and watching some of the old NWA shows, the TBS Center Stage shows, there was a lot of talking on those shows too, and I think it's how it's portrayed. If you have your pre-match interview, and then you go in your wrestle and you tell the story, and then you have even the post-match interview, it can be done. Whereas the current promotion is just all talk. Like you only got like 3 minutes to do a promo, 5-minute match, 2-minute post-match. Now we get the 15-minute promo to open up Raw. And I think there's the complaint of too much talking is quantity over quality. Where you could have 15 minutes of talking in the first 45 minutes of Raw if you cut it up into bite-sized chunks.
Right.
Where you get, it's not the same person doing this talking over and over. We're not going to go back to the days where you have a 20-minute headlock.
Right.
Like the guys in the old, like we could hold them for 20 minutes and the crowd would eat out of it. You're not going to get that just because with today's attention span.
Right.
But I think you can still sell a 15, 20-minute match around nothing but chain wrestling, assuming it's good. Now, if guys are blowing spots or looking confused, they're not going to buy into it, because you want to buy, even though wrestling is predetermined.
Right.
If the two guys in the ring are doing a good job, you will buy into what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But when you see them sitting there and looking at each other and saying, okay, go for the shoulder block, go for the, then you're going to get taken out and you're going to be bored, because it loses the professionalism. It could be two guys in their backyard running through matches.
Yeah, and it seems like, WWE is obviously going for that, well, it's in their title, entertainment. And I think part of their problem is the fact that they've got so many Hollywood writers and whatnot on their staff that they're scripting too much in terms of the lines and the
Yeah.
action outside of the ring, that it kind of takes away from the guys who were allowed to be more of themselves and let their own characters come out. And obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin is probably the best example there of letting a
Yeah.
guy be more of himself.
Well, you look at the guys that have gotten over in the last 20 years. You know, Hogan, Flair, Rock, Austin. What do they all have in common? They were allowed to be themselves, even Mick Foley. They weren't handed lines. And when they were handed lines, they kind of flatlined. And it wasn't until they broke out into their own character. You would think, being business-minded, that you would have intelligent people behind the scenes who would be like, maybe we shouldn't script everything out and have guy, because you can tell when a guy's trying to remember what he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
And there have been times where a cue has been missed, like, you know, some guy was supposed to interrupt and it didn't happen. The guy's kind of freeze because they don't know
Yeah.
what's going to go on. Whereas if guys are allowed to be themselves, they get that personality. Look, I think The Miz is probably another example recently, who is a guy who has taken his natural personality, ramped it up a bit, and has gotten over.
Yeah.
Catchphrase doesn't help. I mean, doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But in the same vein, as you recently posted on your blog, the death of the manager.
Mhm.
So instead of guys like, I'll use Shelton Benjamin as an example, tons of talent,
Yeah.
not the best speaker. And John Morrison right now, kind of the same way.
Yeah.
If these guys would have had managers, like a Bobby Heenan and Jimmy Hart, to do their talking, and then they went and did their talking in the ring, you would probably have a different scenario with where they rate on the star level right now.